Good morning, class! I am Teacher Monique from Iling National High School. Are you guys ready for another exciting knitting lesson? So am I. So before we begin our lesson, let us have first a guessing game. All you have to do is to guess its name. Are you guys ready? Let's get started! Great job! To begin our lesson, I want you to take a look at these pictures on the board. I have hat A and hat B. Can you tell me which is a knitted hat? Keep your answer in mind because we are going to get back to it later. Let's begin with a trivia. Did you know that Miriam Tegels of Netherlands is the world's fastest knitter who hand-knitted 118 stitches in 1 minute at the Zwaman Town Hall, Netherlands on August 26, 2006. She holds the title up to now. Yes, you heard it right. All I can say is wow. So how does knitted work? Let's get familiarized with the basic knitting stitches. So there are 5 basic stitches in knitting, such as the slip knot, casting on, knit stitch, purl stitch, and casting off. To start your knitted article, it is important for you to start with slip knot, because slip knot is like an anchor for your casting on. After you created the slip knot, the next thing to do is casting on. It is a technique for adding new stitches that do not depend on earlier stitches. After doing the casting on, the next is knit stitch. So it is made with the yarn at the front of the work by inserting the right needle into the front of a loop on the left needle from the right, and then catching the yarn from the right needle and bring it through to form a new loop. The next basic stitch in knitting is the purl stitch. It is just the reverse of knit stitch. It is made with the yarn at the back of the work by inserting the right needle into the front of the loop onto the left needle from the right, and then catching the yarn with the right needle. The last thing to do is to do the casting off. It is to finish a knitted fabric or to lock the stitch. Now that you already know the 5 basic stitches in knitting, it is time for you to do it step by step. But before that, let us be familiarized with the safety measures in performing the basic stitches in knitting. Before you begin, hide your hair for convenience. So the light should fall on the working surface from the left side or from the front. And when working with knitting needles, keep them no closer than 35 centimeters from your eyes. And then keep knitting needles and other sharp objects. At the end of the work, remove them out of reach of small children. So let's start with creating slip knot. So leave about 4 inches tail and then flip the tail over the yarn coming off of the yarn ball. And then flip the tail under the loop that was created so that it is going down the center of the loop from behind. Pull the tail slightly through the loop. And then place one of your needles into the new top loop created. Pull the loop tightly around the needle, and this is your slip knot, ready to cast on the first row. Steps in creating casting on. So, holding the needle with your slip knot on it on your left hand, push the needle in your right hand through the slip knot and behind the other needle. And then, wrap the yarn coming from the yarn ball around the right needle and between the needles. And then push the right hand needle against the left hand needle and pull the yarn you just wrapped around through the slip knot loop. Push both loops to the top of the needle. And then transfer the loop that's on the right hand needle to the left hand needle. Now you should have the slip knot loop still in the left hand. So for the next loop, wrap the yarn around the right needle again and pull the yarn through the first loop on the left hand needle again so that you have one loop on the right hand needle. Transfer the right hand loop to the left needle so you now have the 3 loops on the left hand needle. So continue doing this until you have casted on as many stitches across you would like. Steps in creating knit stitch. So place your right needle behind the left needle like this. So as you can see, it is forming a letter X. So next is wrap the yarn counterclockwise around the right needle and behind the left needle. And then pull the yarn through the loop so it is on the right needle, like step number 2. Then push the first stitch on the left needle off of the needle completely. Now you'll just have less stitches on the left needle and one on the right. Continue the same method down the row. Once all of the stitches are off of the left needle and on the right needle, that row is done. You may add more rows so that you will see the pattern of the knit stitch. Steps in creating purl stitch. So the main difference between a purl stitch and a knit stitch is that the right needle is put in front of the left needle instead of behind. So to start, hook the right needle into the first loop on the left needle, but in front of the left needle this time. And then, wrap the yarn around the right needle counterclockwise like in step number 2, but this time in front of the back needle and around the front one. And then, pull the yarn through the first loop in the left needle creating a new loop on the right needle. Continue the same technique down the row.
1, 2, 3, come on!
When all of the stitches are off of the left needle, that row is done. So continue stitching, rotating between the knit and purl stitch as you'd like so you can see the patterns it will form. Last but not the least is creating casting off. So this is to lock the stitches. As you can see, the pattern is already visible. That is the knit stitch, and the other side is the purl stitch. To start casting off, you are going to do 2 knit stitch. Now you should have 2 loops on the right needle. Take your left needle and push it through the second loop on your right needle. So that is the first loop you made. Then pull the loop up and over the first loop and off of the right needle. Now you will have 1 loop on the right needle. Knit another stitch so you have 2 on the right needle again. Pull the loop up and over the first loop and off of the right needle again, like in step number 6. Continue repeating this down the row. Now you should have all the stitches off of both needles except for 1 left on the right needle. Pull the loop off the needle and cut the yarn, leaving several inches to work with. And then push the excess yarn through the last loop. After that, pull it tight to tie off the end of the loop. Now that you already know the basic stitches in knitting and you already tried to do it, let's go back to the question I left you a while ago, which is, which of these hats is knitted? Is it hat A or hat B? It is time to share your answer. Very good. It is hat A because it consists of the knit stitch and the purl stitch. This knitted hat will serve as our protection from rain, sun, hard objects. We can also use this hat as our fashion accessories. I hope you learned from our lesson today. I'll see you next time for another exciting knitting lesson. I am Teacher Monique saying bye-bye.